got back on the boat.
Okay.
Yeah. The floated down the river, went and spent the night, and slept on the boat. And then the next day, came to the ancient capital of Laos.
Mm.
It's Luang Prabang.
Okay.
Spent a couple, 3 days there. It was just kind of old and ancient, beautiful, right there on the river, on the Mekong. And then from there, actually I met some priests there, some Hindu priests, and
Okay.
had some lively discussions.
Monks?
Yeah, monks.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, monks, and had some. One of them spoke English fairly decently. Had some lively discussion.
Enough to get
Good,
there,
good.
yeah.
You know, drank tea and all this, and they talked about this, and I talked to them a little bit. They were asking me. I talked to them and talked about Jesus, and they were really fascinated. And they really haven't heard. They really didn't know.
Really?
No, I mean, they was like, oh, yeah, and they're finally, yeah, and I tried to describe and did the
Okay.
whole, and they were like, yeah, and they really weren't that knowledgeable about
You
that.
didn't walk on water? Just trying.
No, I didn't walk on the water. No, I'm afraid I'd sink. So we had a good time doing that, laughing a lot. We had a good time. Then I caught a van down to the central part of Laos, and I wanted to go visit a place it was an ancient place called the Plain of Jars.
Okay.
And this
Which is
somewhere around 500 BC,
Okay.
2,500 years ago, till about 300 AD. They have this whole area that is now called the Plain of Jars, and it was these rocks that were taken out, and they're like, say, a ton, 2,000 pounds, and they carved out the inside of it,
okay.
made it about this deep. So if the rock was this tall, then they carved in this round, and they carved out the inside.
Okay.
There's been a lot of debate about what they were used for, different things, and just from the ancient world and my wanderings in different parts of the world, my opinion in that is that it was used for burial, and they would
Okay.
actually put people in. Then I think they would actually cremate them
I see.
inside the rock.
I was thinking in my head like a pickling jar or some kind of thing.
Yeah, that's one of the other theories.
It's always about
Yes,
food.
maybe you can have that theory.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you can have the
Let's
pickling
stick
jar
with that.
theory, and I'll stick with the burial theory.
Food fermentation, yeah.
See, we're all free here to think whatever you want. You're totally free to think whatever you want. No judgment at all. So, speaking of pickling jars, there is that. So what I wanted to
Sure.
express to you is that, so going out from there, I saw some rice paddy fields, which of course
Oh,
reminded
they're
me of,
beautiful, yeah.
yeah, gorgeous, and do this. So this is the area that is known as one of the main areas that the CIA
Okay.
conducted
Ah.
its secret war prior to the Vietnam War and during the Vietnam War.
Are we supposed
Air America.
Can we say that now?
Yeah. CIA. Yeah. I got a story
Tell
about
us.
the
Yeah,
CIA
go ahead.
right now, but another time that happened to me in Turkey. So actually taken and
So-
questioned
Oh.
by the CIA.
So what happened at this, what is this place again called?
It's the name. I have it written down. So I'm just trying to think somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a long name. It's called Zwang.
It's in Vietnamese. It's sure.
It's Lao. It's
Lao.
Lao,
Okay,
yeah.
excuse me. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can look it up though. Look up the Plain of Jars
Okay.
on the internet. You guys look up. It's fascinating with the pictures. It's like woo. But what happened? The CIA conducted a secret war. It's kind of famous secret war after the fact, and they were using that area to try to keep the Vietnamese communist Viet Cong out of coming through Laos, to circle back around, to take over Laos or to influence it, and to circle around back and come in a different direction to Vietnam. And so they were, Ho Chi Minh Trail and all that stuff. Just using that. So they were conducting a lot of bombing in the area.
Okay.
So I'm here at the Plain of Jars, and walking through it, and I'm seeing craters in the ground where they were bombed with, you know, the CIA using clandestine means to bomb the area of the Vietnamese communists.
So I googled it. Is it that
Yeah.
Pont Savan?
Yeah, that's
Pont
it.
Savan?
That's
Laos?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. See, told you. Told you. I'm not making this up. And so saw all these craters,
Okay.
and I'm like, you know, and it's like, whoa. So it became that real thing where you see craters still in the ground in this ancient area,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and walked through that, saw that, and thought about the whole CIA secret war there and what they did. You know, the thing is the CIA is not a part of the Department of Defense.
Okay.
So they conducted this as a secret war aside from any kind of official
Sure.
permission or recommendation. So, you know, however you feel about that, I'm like, I've got real questions about that. I'm a patriot totally, but it's like, it was kind of a little bit uncontrolled there, and a lot of thousands and tens of thousands of innocent people were also killed in that. and all those
Casualty of
bomb-
war, huh?
And continue to this day.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
You wanna know how?
Sure.
One of the
Tell us.
shockers, and one of the shockers while I was down there is the first night in the town where I stayed right next, is that I went to this restaurant. And the reason I chose this restaurant to go into was the outside the restaurant there were bombs that they had gathered,
Shells.
Shells.
Yeah. Okay.
big ones and small ones, big ones that were used to
Defense.
for decoration of the restaurant. And I'm going, whoa. So I had a meal, bombs are lined up, you know, big ones and small ones, some of the tall ones,
Uh-huh.
right by me, and I'm sitting at the table looking at them going, this is just too wild.
Mm.
Yeah. Met some girls there was a group of 6 girls traveling. We went and had some wine afterward across the street, and they were from 3 different countries. They were European girls. And we just talked, and they were like, it blew their mind too. It was just like, wow. So I saw all this, went to a museum the next day, saw lined up for 2 blocks worth of undetonated bombs, and all,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, so I started to research it.
Okay.
So I noticed that there's places, anyway, I caught a van with another guy that I met on this trip and his girlfriend from America. They were there, and we went out to another place that also had some jars about 15 miles away. So we're walking through this path and we're being yelled at because there's unexploded ordnance in the area. So I went back and looked at the sign that I failed to really, different signs would come up, really failed to read the fine print, and it explained that this land has been cleared out, but still,
Be careful.
be careful, that there's still unexploded ordnance.
It still happens, like you said, it still happens to this day. I mean, I've seen, documentaries and news about it. It's a sad state out there. I mean, children, old people, and losing limbs just because of, there's still how many, like thousands and
Yeah,
thousands.
they say that 30, the numbers I have is that 30% of the bombs dropped, who makes these bombs? 30%, maybe that's a good thing that they didn't explode, of the bombs dropped on from the secret war, from the CIA secret war, did not explode. 600,000 pounds of exploded ordnance. And like 300 or 400 people die a year. Another 800 to 1,000 are hurt or maimed in a year, because it's all out there, and the farmers go out there to clear land, people walking, do something, boom. To me, it's like they should really, I don't know, President Trump, can you get some people over there? I don't know who's doing that. I know. No, I'm not saying.
When was this war?
This is, it's in the 70s.
70s.
I know.
50 years
President,
ago.
I was being facetious there, but
No, but it's been 50 years and still people are still dying. And 300-400 a year die
it's
from
crazy.
it. It's still,
crazy.
It's a war. It seems like war never ends.
Yeah. I tell you, it's such a. Even though those 2 stories together, both of them aren't stories that make you go, oh yeah, that's great, yeah, love those stories.
Yeah.
At the same time, I have experiences like that. You
Sure.
have experiences. On the road, you have a lot of experiences like that. And they're just wonderful. And I should share more of those. And they're predominantly good news stories.
Mhm.
These, even though it's like, whoa, oh, that's terrible, I still wouldn't trade having those experiences of
Sure.
just being on the road and seeing what I saw and feeling what I felt
Mm.
and how that moved me and how it made me grow, how it made me just all the different things that goes on inside yourself when you're confronted with the torment of broken humanity a lot of times, and you see it more so on the road than you do in a protected environment,
Mhm.
or if you go to Disney World.
Or resorts or
Go to your resort. For every resort you go to, make another trip to a third world country. How about that? How about balance it out? I would say, why not? Why not? Your
It's
kids
a good thought.
would
Yeah.
grow. You would grow. And that's what it's all about.
I mean, Disney World is fun. You
Oh, I
at
like-
times.
I-
I mean, I don't think I'll go back again. Yeah.
You're not for it. You're not for it. No, you should take it. You
But
can take
it's just, yeah, that's absolutely right. It's take the good with the bad, and
Mhm.
it's all experiences. So yeah, it's a good point, John.
It's like a whole different place to be. It's a whole different experience. I think that one of the things about kind of, I guess, one of the last things we want maybe just kind of bring up here.
Sure.
When I was younger, in my 20s, and I would travel, and I would take off. I did travel in my 20s extensively. Lived in the Mediterranean area during those number of years at that time. I'd meet all kinds of travelers from around the world,
Mm-hmm.
all kinds of people. A lot of Americans, a lot of Europeans, Australians, New Zealanders, a lot of folks from that part of the world, those parts of the world, and I noticed the huge difference there is now. And one of the things that when I was teaching high school, I taught high school for 24 years,
Okay.
public high school in a minority school for 24 years, is that when I would encourage or talk about a trip or an experience, and I'd encourage my students to travel and get out there and give them stories that of high adventure like I've had. And one of the things that they would give as an excuse that maybe they didn't really seem that excited about it, that is because they could watch it all on the internet.
Yes.
I could show my pictures on the screen of some, and they can just go look up that city, that town. They can go right to the plain of jars and just look it up and go, yeah, oh, wow, that's pretty interesting, and just sort of just barely makes an impression and goes on through. And they go, yeah, I know what you're talking about, yeah. So there's a thinking among many of our folks growing up with the internet that sort of supplants the experience of getting out and living life and getting out there and seeing for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I have so much respect for the military folks going out there that go in different parts of the world. Those it's real. But it does not take the place. It's no way even near takes the place. And I just kind of sit there and I look at them and go, really? And they go, oh yeah, yes sir, Mr. Stockel. Yep.
So, I mean, technology is a wonderful thing.
Yes,
as well.
it is.
But
Look,
how-
we have a
but-
podcast.
There you go. We're in this box on TV. Yeah. But how do we? I mean, what do you suggest? Any recommendations that how can we get more people, especially this, whatever age range it is, and how we can get more people to experience life? Travel.
Yeah.
It could be just in their, here in Texas or
Yeah.
Other parts of the world overseas. How? I mean, what?
Just have to make a choice, and it reinforces itself. In other words, I said a minute ago, if you do have children, or a child or children, they're young, yeah, you're going to go and do something that's pleasing to
Sure.
kids.
Yeah.
But also, you can also make a trip to go down and visit safe places. And you can go to safe places like in Peru and go down there and see Machu Picchu. Take the kids on that trip. A little bit more difficult, a little bit more arduous, you know, and this, but what a trip. That's what they'll remember. Those are the trips that they'll go. And it instills within them a spark of adventure, a spark of, oh, this is really different. You know, when I was in my 20s, didn't have the internet, you know. So if you wanted adventure, that's why to go back to my point, there were so many more young people that traveled in their late teens, in their 20s, and made trips because they couldn't go, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I've seen that place. I can read about it. Okay. Oh, I've seen it in the movie. Okay. Well, I've seen that. So we didn't think that way. So now these days, because there's so much emphasis on experiencing life through the internet, they have all these games people can play and all these things you put on, you know, what do you call them, 3D or whatever, virtual reality stuff, and do all that. That becomes, wow, what a rush that is. So today, what do you think? I think it has to be the family.
Sure.
I think it has to be the family unit. You guys out there that do it.
There's some, you know, and for me, you know, there are technology apps out there, you know, websites to help you travel, you know, inexpensively. Groupon is one of them.
There you go.
I mean, there's lots of sites out there that, you know, what was that called? Backpacking traveler. I mean,
go to the Grand Canyon. I got friends going to the Grand Canyon that are just going to hike the Grand Canyon and take different day hikes. Go to Big Bend. Go up to the Great Lakes. Go up.
And sometimes,
you know,
like
you can do it in the States too.
On Groupon, sometimes it's cheaper to travel overseas than it is, you know, across country. But
and if you don't have any kids, then I say there's no excuse. If you don't have any kids, what freedom that you can save for? You can save for a trip once every 1 year, like every couple of years, and you can travel cheaply. You know, go to the places that aren't. So you don't have to go to spend euros every year, which is expensive. Go make some third world trips. Man, I had a wonderful time in Egypt.
Developing countries.
Yeah, and I love Turkey. Turkey is fantastic to travel.
And we go to Turkey.
I can name a bunch, but Greek islands. Anyway, and I can name a bunch of stuff. But
so, John, how do you want to wrap this up today?
I think I'm going to have a drink of. This is tea.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. I just think that in all things, it's just in all the traveling. You know, as you get older, you have a real sense of. It really gives you a real sense of who you are. You want to know who you are and become that person that you turn out to be. In other words, there's a real sense of it's confidence, but it's not like any kind of arrogance.
Sure.
There's a humility about it because of what you've seen and experienced in real life, and so you're kind of humbled by that. And you also are given these pinpricks in your heart and your spirit. I think from our Creator, from God, from the one who made us, and I think that it produces a compassion that's genuine and real. It doesn't come from, you know, because you're a religious person. It comes from the human experience and because of connections that you want to make with however you want to make connections with God, but that is seen through how you love other people. And you can just do it just by seeing them, affirming them, you know, speaking kind words,
you know.
not judging them, speaking, you know, you get in a discussion, say what you think and what you believe.
Sure.
But just, it creates within you a heart of life, love, and expectation. It gives you hope. And all of this, I think about the girl that the mother wanted to give me. And sometimes what I meant to say a while ago was, to end this up, is you guys can think of someone that you thought, oh, I wonder how they turned out. How did that boy or girl or person turn out that I had this brief run-in with, and I thought, oh no, have hope for them.
Mm.
Ask for them. Maybe have a genuine asking to God for them, if that's what your belief system is, if that's what you believe in that. I do, but I can do that without judgment on somebody
Sure.
else, as we all do. And so I just would say, life on the road is the coolest thing ever. It's the gift from the cost that you do to get there. The gift far outweighs the cost. It's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. So, you guys out there, your last words. You have any last words?
Just keep spreading, love and peace and kindness.
There we go. All right, you guys.
Enjoy the human experience.
Love y'all. John?